Hello. In this video, I just want to dive into exactly how this case study came about, how we generated an extra over $500,000 for this brand I was working with, and just dig into the numbers a little bit and give you some more context about what I was looking at and how I prioritized the SEO efforts we put into this to get this result. And so to give a little bit of background, when these guys found me, they were not relatively, they were a very successful e-commerce brand, already doing millions of dollars per year, mostly through paid ads, spending a lot of money on paid ads, sending a lot of email. But their site was very big and they didn't really know where to start with SEO. And so I was able to hop in and help them out and kind of organize their strategy and direct it for them so they actually had some kind of SEO strategy in place rather than just having nothing and not having the time to do it themselves and just generally not knowing where to start. So to dig into this, I'm just going to go through this case study that's on my website. I'm going to dig into some real numbers and show you some actual documents I was using to help them do all this. But I'll just start from the top here and start with the problem. And like I said, when they came to me, they just had no cohesive SEO strategy. They felt overwhelmed by the size of the website, didn't really know where to start and what to do. And when I dove into their website, this became very apparent very quickly because they were just lacking kind of the SEO fundamentals across their entire site. They had missing page titles and meta descriptions on some of the pages. A lot of the page titles were just very short and not targeting any specific keyword. Especially, this was a big problem on their collection pages. They had some missing schema markup, which we can get into. And their product pages, again, weren't well optimized for the ways people were searching for their product on Google. So there's a lot of untapped opportunities to fix that. And on top of that, their internal linking structure between blog posts and product pages and collection pages and all that was kind of lacking. So I helped address all these things. So the way I did this, and like I said, their site was, almost 1,000 different products, well over 1,000 different SKUs, into the tens of thousands of SKUs probably, but or product variants, I should say. So the first step was just to do this comprehensive SEO audit. I found found technical issues, fixed a small part of those, technical SEO issues. Fixing those can help. They're not generally a huge thing I focus on. They're kind of just like clean up some 404 stuff like that. It doesn't really drive the needle, but it's one of those fundamental things that you kind of just have to have down. And like I said, their site was huge, so I had to figure out some way to prioritize exactly how to go about it. And the way I did this was first thing first is, I inventoried the entire site, pulled the page titles and meta descriptions and figured out what the situation was. And then using this, I looked into their Google Search Console data and their Google Analytics 4 data to figure out two things: which pages were converting the best, which pages had the highest conversion rates, and which were already ranking between like 5th and 9th position on the search results page, the SERP. So the reason I did this is because if you're in e-commerce and you're ranking between 5th and 9th, that's a clear sign Google, they trust your site. You're on the first page, but you're probably getting very little traffic from it, just because, especially with e-commerce, there's so much crap, for lack of a better word, that they throw on the SERP, like product listings and discussion forums and ads, of course. And so if you're not really like in the top 5, you're just pretty much not getting seen at all. And so to show you what that looks like, just to give you a little bit more concrete example of why this is so important. So this is a graph of average position against click-through rate, the average click-through rate, and this is data directly from their website. On this side here, we have averages across the entire internet, but it's a little bit easier to see in this graph. So we found pages within this range between 5 and 10, and as you can see, pretty much anything below 10, obviously, people don't generally go to the second page of Google, so the click-through rates are very small, 1% or less. And then on the second half of the first page, you're at most, the click-through rate is 5% in the 5th position, which sounds good, but you can do a whole lot better, as you can see, once you get into the first half between positions 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? Like if you go from 6th position to 2nd position, you could easily 3x the amount of traffic going to that particular page, whatever page is ranking, and 3 times the clicks, 3 times the traffic, 3 times the sales, assuming that the conversion rate doesn't change. And so you can do a lot of damage really quickly by just focusing on the high converting pages that are ranking in this range, tweaking them a little bit, doing the keyword research and optimizing the pages, and get them into the first, second, or third position. And it's a lot better to try and get a lot of pages between 1 and 4 than to get a few pages in the first position. But a lot of people spend a lot of time trying to get this one page to rank number 1 on Google, but that's generally a waste of time just because it can be very difficult. It's much better to just take a broader approach from all these pages, try and get them on the first half of the first page of Google. And to give you an idea of, why this is so important, you can see screenshots here of the search results for men's jeans from 2020 versus 2025. And, 5 years ago, it was relatively simple, just, 5 organic results, some product listings, and then more organic results. And now's the first page. But now the first 5, are obviously still the first 5, but the product widget has gotten way bigger. Then in the second chunk of organic listings, you could say there's, discussions and forums or Reddit posts about men's jeans. And then there's positions 6 and 7. And then there's more product listings. And then there's people also asking. And then there's more product listings. So being in positions, they don't even have position 8, 9, or 10 anymore, really. Position 8, 9, or 10 are basically useless. And you could say kind of the same for position 6 and 7, right? So like if you're in 6th or 7th position or 8th position, and you get up to this top 5 position, you're going to see huge, huge increases. I mean, if you go from 10th position, basically 1%, to 5th position, that's 5%. That's a 5x click-through rate. Or from 5th position, an even better or more extreme example would be from 5th position to 1st position, and that's another 5x, going from 5% to 25%. And if you look at this over here, you can see the average click-through rate for this particular company, and I think this is e-com in general, just because they have all these extra SERP features for product listings, is the click-through rate for the first position is going to be lower than average. So the average across the entire internet is close to 40%, but for e-com it's really 25%. But that's a lot better than you're going to get from any type of ad you're running. Average click rates are like, good ads, click-through rate is 5% on Google, right? Assuming it's not branded. And so anyway, yeah, you can do a lot of damage by just focusing on high converting keywords, ranking from 5th to 9th position, or from 6th to 9th position, whatever, and just tweaking those a little bit. So that's where we put a lot of our focus at the start. And so we figured out, we prioritized those pages these pages like that. And then the next step was to do, the keyword research for all these pages. So if we go into, this is, if you work with us, you'll get set up with a spreadsheet very similar to this. It's not going to look exactly the same, just because a lot of these tabs are individual, just how we were going about it for this particular brand. But, we were breaking out into product pages and collection pages and whatnot. But essentially, you just do the keyword research, figure out for every one of these pages, and this is where the big manual lift comes in, is for every single one of these pages, you have to figure out how people are searching for this product. So an issue I often see e-commerce brands run into is just that they're selling this product, it has a particular name, and that name is how people are searching for it, with the exception of some products. Sometimes products are colloquially known as something else, but for the most case, the keyword is the name of the product, right? But I see it quite often on e-commerce brands where the page title and the H1 is, they're trying to get fancy with the wording, right, to try and make it look a little bit more on brand or whatever. But at the end of the day, they're not putting the full name of the way people are searching for this specific product in the page title and the H1, and that's going to really limit the reach you can get. Not only maybe your page ranks, right? Maybe your page ranks well for the keyword, but if the page title, if a consumer is looking for, let's just take this first page, the Wave tool, that's how people are searching for it. Obviously, the volume is 2,900 searches per month. If you're competing against someone whose page title just says the Wave tool, and yours says, optimize your recovery using this innovative product, the Wave tool, it's super long. The person on the search results page, even if your first position and your competitor's second position, and theirs says the Wave tool, and yours says some long sentence about the product, they're going to click, even though your first position, they're going to click on your competitor. So it's really important to have the search term people are searching in the page title, and to some extent the meta description, so that they know what they're clicking on, essentially. So yeah, the big lift here is just doing the keyword research, figuring out how people are searching for the pages you want to rank, and then start by making sure the page titles are, have the right keyword in them for click-through rate purposes, making sure the meta description exists. I see a lot of websites that don't have any meta description at all, so make sure it exists in the first place. And you can also throw in some extra information, because that also shows up on the SERP and influences click-through rate a bit, and also, helps Google try and figure out what the page is about. So it could help it rank. But yeah, tweak the page titles and the meta descriptions, and then move on to actually updating the product page itself, the H1, the product description, and all the different information. Make sure that the keyword's also in that, because in this case, for this brand, they had a lot of missing opportunities in their product descriptions for places to easily put the keyword in, where it wasn't like keyword stuffing, like just putting the keyword in over and over again. Like, there were tons of opportunities missing where they could organically, naturally put in the keyword, and it would read better than it did before, honestly. So you're actually adding the keyword in and improving the user experience by adding the keyword in again. So it's a win-win for everyone. And those are the types of opportunities that you want to try and find, because those are the things Google likes to see when you're improving the user experience, right? Because at the end of the day, they are selling ads and they want as many people using their platform as possible. So they're going to serve the most user-friendly content for any given search term. So on top of that, that was kind of the the bulk of the strategy, finding the keywords or the pages that were converting well, and also ranking on that second half of the Google page, doing the keyword research, optimizing the page titles and the product descriptions and all that stuff. And then there were a few other small things we did. We did some schema markup, adding some more internal linking from blogs to the product pages, which helps blog content convert, because they also had a lot of traffic going to the blogs you may know that blog traffic doesn't always convert the best, so you have to put some effort into getting that to convert by sending them to the product pages. And we have a few tricks that we use depending on the client. We'll do things like add email capture forms so they can be put into the nurture flow, and we'll even set up remarketing campaigns on Facebook, on Meta, to target that net new traffic, just to keep you guys top of mind for them. And yeah, just that's a important step of the process as well, getting that blog traffic to convert when you're writing blogs. And then of course, you got to set up really good reporting to keep track of these things, make sure that the changes you're making isn't making the rankings go down, because that's always a risk when you're changing content. It does. So you just got to make sure the rankings aren't going down, and you got to make sure the revenue is going up. And so setting up crystal clear reporting and just monitoring and making small adjustments here and there to make sure everything's going in the right direction. And so the results, as the headline said, added $573,061 in revenue in an 8-month period. I worked with them for about a little over a year, but there's just some tracking issues. So honestly, this 573,000 number is a little bit low, because as you can see here, there's just tracking issue that was pretty unique to them. And there's like a month here of missing revenue data. So yeah, I mean, that's easily another few $100,000 added to this number. But basically we looking at the top 300, and that number is also just from the top 300 pages as well. so it's not even all the pages that we optimized. It's literally just the top 300. So again, that's another reason this number is undercounting. So yeah, the big headline is 52-ish% increase in revenue from only a 27-ish% increase in organic sessions, which sounds crazy, but when you drive more traffic to the highest converting pages, you're going to get more bang for your buck than sending more traffic to a product page that no one wants anyway, right? So yeah, I mean, just to give a little bit more insight into like what that looked like, 340 pages moved onto the first page or climbed higher within it. So they either went from below the first page to the first page, or like, again, in that second half useless part of the first page up into top 5 position. And 227 of those pages are within the top 5. So out of those 340 keywords, that volume totaled almost 1 million searches per month. So it's almost 1 million extra eyeballs every month for free that we were able to get to them. And that's what ultimately ended up driving the revenue, right? More traffic to good converting pages is more revenue. It's not rocket science. So yeah, they basically doubled their daily non-branded impressions, tripled their daily organic revenue. And the reason why it worked was just, again, the prioritization, making sure we're only working on pages, spending time on pages that were going to drive the needle, and making sure those pages matched the exact way their customers were searching for whatever product they were selling. And this is the basic framework I use for every client. And, it's not a one-size-fits-all strategy. Some people might look exactly like this. Other brands might look totally different and require something else. But the way our search to sales framework methods works is we start with the SEO audit. We craft a strategy unique to your business that we hand to you, and then we'll jumpstart your efforts by doing the first 20 pages, showing you how to do it, teaching you the ways of optimizing pages so that you can continue on your own. And then adding in those secondary conversion methods like the email capture form so you can nurture them through email, or meta retargeting so that you can stay top of mind for them for very little money. And yeah, if you want to figure out if your brand has similar growth potential to these guys, just feel free to book a call with me and we can chat about it, no strings attached. And yeah, hopefully this all makes sense. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email or book a call, just talk about this. So yeah, have a good day.